family. Can't live with them, can't live without them. On this week's episode, we are taking a deeper look into what makes a family, how our personal definitions of family can define us, and how all of that intersects with the joy and pain of the holiday season.
We explore growing trends in family dynamics, key factors that help and hinder our connections, and how to create your own personal holiday survival plan. We're making our lists and checking them twice to define what makes family naughty or nice. So let's get to gabbing right now.
Welcome to Collect Your Thoughts. I'm Sean Millhouse, licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Jason LeCompte, licensed professional counselor and clinical supervisor.
Woo woo. Hi, Jason. How you doing?
Hey, Sean. Good. It's been a different kind of morning, a little, I don't know, slower. My husband's leaving on a work trip today. But it's been good. Yeah, good so far. We actually played some really fun games of pickleball this morning where I got my butt kicked.
Is he pretty good?
I didn't know that he was before today, but he had a different energy today and just took me to school. It was pretty fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've never played, but I've always considered maybe trying it. But, maybe one of these days I'll venture into it.
Yeah.
You know who is a huge, huge fan of pickleball?
Brene Brown?
Brene Brown.
I didn't know that.
Yes, she talks about it. So one thing I know we have mentioned between the two of us is that Brene did release her new book, Strong Ground. And we have probably the plans of doing a special episode based around that. And it actually, because of a pickleball injury, is how she got the title of her book.
Oh, wow.
And so, anyway, that's just to set it up for anybody listening. But anyway, so fun little
maybe season 2, episode 1. Maybe we can kick off season 2. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, today, as we said in our little cold open, we are talking about family.
Yeah.
And Jason, you were actually the one that initially suggested this topic, but I also really liked what you had to say about why you wanted to do this topic. So I just want to hear from you what was something that made this seem like a great topic for right now.
It's a really poignant topic for me personally, just because the family that I grew up in and the family that I have now looks very different. And I had to really redefine that term for myself as I grew into my adulthood and kind of formed my own values. But I feel like it's a really complex idea, complex cultural thing in at least in the US, but I feel like also just kind of all around the world, the way that we describe family, the way that we perform family. And so, it seemed to be like a really rich topic that we could really kind of get a lot of mileage out of.
Yeah. Well, especially the holiday season is right about to happen. This is always that time of year. It's like you hit Halloween and then it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
It just goes by so crazy fast.
Yeah. And all of a sudden it's January.
Well, yeah, you get to January and you're like, oh shit, I survived. Hopefully, hopefully we got through this. Hopefully we aren't too burnt out from the excitement and the chaos of the holiday season, which for a lot of people includes family, or because of situations doesn't include family.
Right.
And that's, I think, so important to shed light on. And I think for anybody listening to maybe connect with, relate to, and maybe we can offer them some collect your thoughts goodies to, walk away with.
Some ways to navigate or consider it differently. Yeah.
When I was doing research for this episode, I always like, you know me, I love quotes.
Mm,
I live for a quote. I love to use them in my sessions. I just think, it's really cool when people share wisdom and it connects in a way that says something special. And I actually found a quote from my personal hero. Just kidding. Actually, she is awesome, but I was gonna say my
talking
personal
about Mother
hero,
Teresa.
Mother Teresa. Um,
Oh, that's funny.
but seriously, obviously, she did a lot of good. But one quote that she said that I really liked that connected to family is she said, "The problem with the world is that we draw the circle of our family too small."
Mm,
And I thought that that perfectly parlayed into everything you just said
mm.
and also about how we can define family.
That's
So,
a really beautiful quote. I'm glad that you found that.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
so happy I'd never heard it before. Jason, how do you define family? Not to put
Ha.
you on the spot or anything.
Yeah, I think so. I'll illustrate maybe a little bit the difference between growing up and now. Growing up, I was born into a pretty big extended family. My mom is from a family of 10 kids. My dad's from a family of six, and so I had lots and lots of aunts and uncles and lots of cousins growing up. I was one of the oldest of that generation because my mom was one of the oldest. My dad is a middle child, but so not too many cousins that were older than me. But I grew up with just this giant family that we could go visit on the weekends and holidays and whenever. And so family to me growing up was all of these myriad of people that that I shared blood with. Like that was what it right, and that's what it was. And so I learned a lot about family. What we maybe used to define as, or maybe continue to, but like family values, right? I learned a lot about authority and respect and sharing and contributing, and so a lot of that is kind of like I think still like that essence of family is still really strong in me. Like I
Mhm.
still even now as an adult, the people that I have in my circle that I call family, those are still the practices and the value pieces that I want present in that, right? Like I'm an uncle to blood nieces and nephews, but also like chosen nieces and nephews, right? I love having people over and cooking and being the person in the kitchen who's making all of the food and prepping everything. And like, because I learned that feeding family is how you love them, right? So that piece is still inherent. So I think those are the similarities. The differences are the people that I want to call family now are the people who love me exactly for who I am. And I know we're probably going to get into this a little bit later on too, but the shift in family for me was really tough. It's happened in the last, I think, 8 years or so. Um, and I'm separated from my parents because of values differences. And so, um, unconditional love, like that's a really important piece of family to me. And so now as an adult, like the people that I know love me unconditionally will show up for me, are there for me. I don't have to even think about it. I can be messy around them. I can be whole around them. That's a really important piece of defining value or defining family for me now. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that
Yeah.
was maybe a long-winded answer, but I feel like those
No,
are the
it's
those are
great.
the really important pieces for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely say similar aspects of what you mentioned are definitely true for me too. Growing up, there was just the four of us in my immediate family, but
Mm,
we on my mom's side of the family I've mentioned before, we're extremely close and still just have the best time really just laughing, having fun, celebrating each other,
mhm.
doing that whole thing, being our weird selves. But I definitely think the idea of family really started to grow. I obviously like high school, I think the friendships and experiences you go through deepen those relationships you have with non-family members
Mhm.
to your friends, and then that experience makes you feel like this is my blood. We're just separated
Right.
by different genes.
Right.
But then really college, I would say for sure, I definitely experienced different kinds of family, like in the sense of I remember my, like, dorm floor, even though I didn't love everybody on that floor, I loved I loved our floor, and we had a great RA. Shout out Alex if you're listening. And who actually then connected me to the fraternity I eventually was
Oh,
a
wow.
part of, and then that became another family, plus all the friends that I made through that fraternity that are
Yeah.
still some of my close friends now. And so, like, they, that home away from home aspect is
Yeah.
so important. And then now being post college for a while now, uh,
Couple of
is
years, couple, 2,
just
3
a couple
years.
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
freshly out of college, barely out of grad school. Uh, is now, I definitely have my Arkansas family. I know
Mm.
that we people talk about how, like, gross it is in workplaces to be like, we're family here. But no, we really are family here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we don't have, like, the corporate side to us that larger companies
Right.
do, who sometimes utilize that language, but we
Yeah.
definitely show up for each other and bail each other out and do things for each other
Yeah.
that really show up in a way that feels like family to me.
Mhm. Yeah.
As I said before, we really thought it would make sense to cover this topic because of the positives and negatives of what it uniquely means to each person to
Mm.
say the term family. And we also hope that we can help listeners identify, if they're not sure what that maybe means to them, what family means to them,
Yeah.
as well as navigate the joy, the pain, and the awkwardness of the holiday family experience, and how we can maybe create better boundaries, better
Mhm.
choices, and hopefully a sense of contentment around how we operate during this really busy, uh, at times overwhelming time of the year.
Yeah. And not just quote unquote survive it, like you said, right? It would
Yeah,
be nice to come through the other side feeling satisfied and loved and connected. Yeah.
right, right. So, Jason, what does family mean to you personally? Like, when you define family for people, like, what is the closest thing to, like, your the Jason LeCompte scientific definition of family?
Well,
Good
one way
luck.
I talk, yeah, right. 30 seconds and go. One thing that I like to talk about with clients is when, because I do a lot of relational work as a therapist. And so the way that I sometimes use this word is I say, when we get married, that person becomes our family, and everyone else in your family of origin becomes a relative. And
Mm.
I don't know where I learned that, but
Hmm.
I like the difference that that draws, because what that says to me is that this person that I've chosen to create family with, I am now going to have first. I'm going to prioritize them above everyone else, everything else, which, a lot of times marriage vows will say very similar things,
Sure.
but that sometimes gets lost in the day to day with all of the noise of the modern world and all of the push and pull of different relationships and different obligations and things like that. And so when I put it into those terms, it really does start to solidify, I think, at least in the relational work, I hope it does, that the person that you have chosen is family. And so for me, if I'm going to define it, it's really about who we choose and who chooses us. It doesn't have to be a partner. It can be close friends. It can be a nephew. It can be it can be our pets. Like how
Yes.
truly. I mean, you know this, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. But so if you're going to corner me into a definition, that's really the way that I'm going to say it. Right? It's the people that I choose to love and give myself to who also choose me back.
And I think earlier what you said about, and they choose you unconditionally for you.
That's right, right. So that's, yeah, for me, that's one of my filters in that definition. But that's the way that I talk about it is the choosing of each other. Right, we're going to choose to have each other in our lives and love each other, show up for each
Yeah.
other, whatever that
For
is.
better
Right,
or for worse. There's
Ki-
sickness
ki-
and health.
kind
Yeah.
of,
But
yeah,
still, seriously,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I love that definition. In fact, I don't think I can improve upon it.
Oh,
So
great.
I'm just
Okay,
gonna
yeah,
co-opt it as well.
yeah.
Uh, how does family
Uh-huh.
impact your holiday experience?
Uh-huh.
I know the answer from the peripheral, but I'm
Sure.
curious what
Sure.
that feels like for you living it.
Well, so I will say up until my dad's parents passed, they were sort of the matriarch and patriarch of, my bigger extended family, and that meant that my dad and most of his brothers and sisters and all of my cousins, we would all go over to grandma and grandpa's house, which was like this, 1,700 square foot house with would ended up having 30 or 40 people in it, right? With boyfriends or spouses, or it doesn't really matter. But and then the whole kitchen would just be every piece of counter space. It actually even now that I'm remembering this, it would extend into the laundry room, which was just adjacent. And in the laundry room was where all the desserts were. So so as kids, we would constantly be lingering sort of towards the laundry room, sneaking cookies before dinner and, whatever else. And so that was where I really like looking back, like that was really how I started to define family was big, loud, warm food, togetherness, celebration. Like that was the Christmas at Grandma Virgie and Grandpa Leo's house. That was a family for me for the longest time. And then when they passed and all of my parents' generation kind of took over and became their own matriarchs and patriarchs, it really started to shift. And that was around the same time that me and my siblings all sort of got married or married for a second time. And so that was when I started to really redefine it for myself
Mm.
as an adult and build it into what I think it is now. So yeah, it's been weird to be just to look back and go like, I'm 49 years old. Like how I have all of this history, but then also like I have my life is just so rich now too with family. Like I feel really, really lucky in that regard.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
The picture you painted of the countertop just being filled
Yeah.
with food,
Like literally filled. Yes.
yes, no,
Yeah.
that also, I think, paints a picture for hopefully a lot of people because I think it's such a great. I mean, I I know that Americans have an overconsumption issue, but, like, pretty much everything gets eaten at our Thanksgiving,
Yeah. Or you
celebrations,
go
and
home with leftovers, right? You bring
right.
a little bag of some take home containers and
Oh,
you take your favorites home that didn't get
yes.
demolished by everybody having seconds or thirds.
Well, that was always so, I come in from out of town when I
Yeah.
have, which I'll actually get to in a second, is that,
Yeah.
yeah, there was always that, like, are you sure? Do you want this? Do you want this? We have this whole thing, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, I don't
Mhm.
have a place to even put this. Like, I'm
Right.
staying in a hotel. Like,
Yeah.
I have a small fridge, and also I'm very much like I hate bringing more home with me than I came with
Mhm.
at most times. And
Mhm.
so anyway, that's just my own hang up. But
Yeah.
I will say that at least with what family means to me during the holidays has really shifted. And I mean, I take responsibility, but COVID really kind of changed a lot for me in terms of
Yeah.
it, for a few years, it was just not safe to go home necessarily. I, had family members that had, immuno compromised situations. And so we had to be careful about that. And then luckily, my parents would come down here. So we'd have maybe a smaller Christmas, but our Thanksgivings were always some of my favorite times. But I
Mhm.
haven't actually been home for a Thanksgiving in a really long time. And that was because I had two animals and I
Yeah.
always felt bad leaving them for Christmas. So I was like, okay, for Thanksgiving, I'm going to stay with them. And maybe for some people, that seems really strange if you don't have animals maybe even if you do, you're like, "Oh, what a weirdo. Like, you would rather spend time with your animals by yourself than with your family members. And you know what? I don't regret it because my
No.
animals are now gone over the last few years and it's now this is my first year actually without neither of them,
Oh, wow.
and so now I plan on going home for Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Okay.
and so I feel like in a way I'm returning to something that I used to, but,
Sure.
it became really important to me that in my pet's later years that I spend as much time with them as possible
Yeah.
because I am their I not to we are their everything. When you're their owners, like,
It's
you
true.
are literally their everything. They love you so much, like you said, unconditionally. And so I also felt the same way, and also I like the quiet, like, sometimes I'm telling you, I
Oh,
had some amazing Thanksgivings by myself.
oh,
I know
well,
that
that's
maybe
awesome.
sounds
Yeah,
strange, but, like, it's yeah, I get to do what I want, watch what I
yeah,
want, like, my
yeah.
mom will PayPal money to me and be like, "Order yourself something really nice. Like, get a really good meal from somewhere you really like and have it
Sure,
ready
yeah.
for the next day." Like, really sweet shit. And
Mm,
so, anyway,
yeah,
that's my long definition of how the family experience it sort of is and the holiday experience are sort of
sure.
complicated, but always evolving, I think, like you said.
Yeah.
There is that shift, especially as family members get older, where there is a shift in generations in terms of who does what and like
Oh,
the
yeah.
hierarchy in the kitchen and all of that stuff. And so, anyway, it's just an interesting time of year. It's really, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right,
We
yeah,
always miss our dogs when we choose to board them. For
yeah.
a lot of years we would try and bring them, and then for one reason or another it got complicated, and so then we would try and find a sitter, and then, so we never want them to be alone or be boarded if we can help it, but sometimes it's just necessary. So,
I
yeah.
know a lot of people have to do that. It's
Yeah.
really hard, and mine were cats, and so boarding cats, I think, is just it's such a different like, I think dogs are just better cut out for it because usually dogs go places and, go on
Right.
walks and stuff, and, I mean, some
Right.
people do walk their cats, but it's just not the same in terms of I think, like, I would never want to take my cat with me back home because, A, that would I just yeah, that's such a different experience.
Sure.
But yeah, but I know that you guys would do your best to, like, take them and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
have uh little road trips with the dogs and
Uh-huh.
the chaos and joy that comes from
Uh-huh.
that. All right. So I thought next we could jump into some of the interesting facts or statistics about family and the holidays that I came across.
Yeah, sure.
So in a ourworldinData.org study, they said in most countries, importance of family is above 80%, with
Wow.
only a few exceptions where very important drops below that. So essentially, it seems like most people agree family is a deeply important thing for
Yeah.
them.
Mhm.
However, according to a Pew Research Center poll, many people around the world believe family ties have gotten weaker compared to 20 years ago. In the
Hmm.
US, 64% say family ties have weakened. And I don't think I disagree.
So here's how
But
I
maybe,
interpret
yeah,
that stat. So I don't know the background data behind it. I don't know if,
you didn't
what
study the entire
didn't
research?
I didn't look into how they compiled that data. But what I will say, sort of anecdotally, and maybe this is through my lens as a therapist and as a gay man and in his 40s and whatever, is the definition of family ties, family values is has been like a topic of like cultural shift in the last 20
Mm,
years. And that the connection to family, like we used to say blood is thicker than water, and meaning like family is your ride or die and everyone else comes second. And what I think we've started to realize is not only is that quote from Shakespeare inaccurate, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. That is literally how that
mm.
quote goes. And so what it really means is the person that I promise, the person that I choose as my brother, as my family, is the person that's stronger than
Oh,
who
wow.
I'm actually blood related to. Isn't that cool? Like that quote
Changes
literally means
everything.
the opposite. Yeah, I love it. So not only is that the difference, but
Way to go,
what I think
Billy S.
what I think we've started to realize is like the obligations that we have to family, and we've really started to understand mental health in a bigger, broader way, obviously, first of all. And so when we look at things like obligations and boundaries and family dynamics and all the other sort of like trappings of relationships with blood families, we've started, I think, to realize that these things aren't healthy for us. Just because grandma has beer for breakfast and is cracking jokes by lunch and is an asshole by dinner doesn't mean that. I know it's a silly
No, but it's
example,
true. I
right?
know.
But totally right. So many families
Yeah,
grow up with this
yeah,
kind of dysfunction, and they were just told for so long, that's just how it is. That's just grandma. Well, you know what, grandma, you have a drinking problem and probably some unprocessed trauma, and you should have been with a therapist about 50 years ago, but there probably weren't any therapists. And so right now I'm going to draw some different boundaries. And because you turn into an asshole at Thanksgiving dinner, we're not going to spend Thanksgiving together. So that's what I think we're looking at. Like through that lens,
big time.
we can no longer say like, oh, family obligation, family ties, like family ties are getting weaker. No, we're just making more sense of what's healthy for us and making better choices for that. And I think choosing to spend time and relate to the people who love us unconditionally again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Family
So,
of
so there's my
origin
take on that.
ties.
Right.
I think family of origin ties have
Sure.
weakened, so to
Sure.
speak.
That I will agree with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to point that out.
But from a place of necessity, I think largely
Huge. Yeah.
health
Huge
and necessity. Yeah. Yeah.
for sure. And I definitely think social media has played a big part in that with people more openly broadcasting the, oh boy, I have to deal with, I mean, the classic trope of the racist uncle or, the
Honestly, I hear about it
inappropriate.
every year
Yeah.
in my client base. Every single year I hear stories like that, like my
Yeah.
racist
Oh,
uncle or
yeah.
whatever it is. And I'm like,
What they have to prepare for.
well, and a lot of times the permission that I have to give, right? The permission that I have to give to my clients to be like, you don't have to go to racist uncle's house. You can stay home. You can go elsewhere. You can say, I'm going to be here for an hour and then I'm going to leave. All of these things are
Yep.
okay to do, but we were never told that. We were told you show up and you stay and
Family
you
first, always
weather the
family.
storm and you weather the storm, right? Regardless of what happens. And I'm like, well, no,
That's
not
what
if
you
you're
do
going
for
to leave.
family.
Not if you're going to leave depressed or messed up or with a bloody nose,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah. Feeling completely judged, feeling
right,
denigrated as a person. And
right,
sometimes,
right.
absolutely. Whew, yeah, that was good.
Sorry,
So
grandma. Had to throw grandma under the bus on it. Not
pour you
really. My
another
grandma.
one, Grandma. No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah. Grandma didn't have beer for breakfast. Not my grandma. Not at least as much as I knew, anyway.
So another study said although family is seen as very meaningful, when asked what contributes most to a fulfilling life, many people rank career, job satisfaction, and friendships higher
Mm.
than marriage or parenthood. In the US, only about 25 to 26% say children or being married are among the most important factors.
Mhm.
And also, more people are pessimistic, which is about 40%, than optimistic, 25%, about the future of marriage and family, which I think
Yeah,
that also doesn't surprise me.
it doesn't. I think there's less focus on like having kids, at least for a lot of people, because kids are expensive. And this economy is not right. Like we are in our, what do you want to call it, end stage capitalism or whatever. Like everything costs so much
So
to
much.
choose to have children to have to pay for. Like if there's a lot of people who are making the choice not to because it's just so overwhelmingly expensive. And so you can throw a marriage into that as well. Do I want to be financially linked to somebody who, right? Like that sounds a little maybe dark or pessimistic to say it that way, but I think that's a way that a lot of the cultural values are shifting or have shifted in the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah. Oh, and money has definitely played a huge role in that.
Yeah.
And I also think women, I think because of various pieces of media and shifts in culture because of it, I think more women have felt empowered to actually say out loud, I don't think I want kids.
Hmm.
And that was something that still to this day can make people go, oh, you don't want little baby. And it's like, no, not everybody should be a parent. Let's just be real about that. There are
Let's
people,
start there. Yeah.
I mean, like
Oh yeah.
I say this about everything. There should be licenses for parenthood. Like there should be a way that you, unless you pass a test and that you have
Wow.
solid finances and you have decent, like moderate psychological health,
Mm,
This is the ultimate responsibility of a lifetime. There's no greater responsibility than raising a child.
I agree.
Right? Okay. I was
And
like,
yet
am I
and
alone in
yet
that?
any
Yeah.
it yet any idiot can do it or is allowed to do it.
Any
Yeah,
idiot can do it.
yeah.
Any teenagers in the back of their Honda Accord can
Yep.
make that happen.
Mhm.
Yeah. No hate to Honda Accords. Great long lasting cars. Anyway. So, all
So you're
right.
gonna write your dystopian sci-fi novel then about registering to be a breeder?
Does that make
I
it
don't
dystopian? I just yeah, okay.
it
Well,
feels a
sure,
little bit
yeah.
like, a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit.
no, I know, I'm sure there's people screaming like, "You don't touch my body, my choice," which I'm all about, yeah. You know what? More power to you. But also, you shouldn't have a kid. Some of you
Both
shouldn't have kids.
both things can be true? Sure.
Both things can
Yeah,
absolutely be true. Many things can be true.
yeah.
Some contributing factors to positive family relationships, emotional connection and communication is like shocker. The top
Mm,
thing that is a contributor to feeling a sense of love and deep connection with your family with warmth, affection and open dialogue leading to stronger bonds and significantly lower rates of anxiety, depression and loneliness.
mm.
And I definitely think from everything you alluded to earlier with your own situation, Jason, that that's a big piece of it is feeling like you can feel emotionally connected and you can communicate those things comes from a sense of feeling truly unconditionally supported.
Yeah.
At
When I
least that's
spend
my
time
opinion, right?
No, when I spend time with people who love me in that way, I'm, like, high for a couple of days afterwards. It's just a palpable experience where I just feel completely, right, accepted and loved and nurtured and valued and all of this just for all of the things that I am. And so I agree with that.
And then another factor they say is flexibility and share time. Families that
Mm,
adapt to change and spend meaningful time together through meals, traditions, or shared activities report greater life satisfaction and resilience against stress.
mm.
That adapting to change and flexibility, I think, is a really hard pivot for many families out there.
It is probably for a lot of the polarization that's happened in US culture in the
For sure.
last 20 years. But you're right. Like people are now used to you and I were just talking about this the other day, like what social media has done. Unfortunately, the unfortunate byproduct, or one of them is that any idiot with an opinion now has a microphone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Which I mean, we're two idiots on camera with microphones. So
Hey.
the same, right? And
Yeah.
putting ourselves out on social media. So
Yeah.
we illustrate that point. Hopefully, we're not idiots, but also anybody with an opinion can just put it out there. And so
Hmm.
what's happening is we're getting more polarized and told that the things that we feel are truths, right? And that we should buy into that completely, and that anybody else who believes differently or says that they do is the other, is the enemy, the opposite, the whatever it is. And so we are starting to, I think, pull apart in that way. And that's where I think some of that flexibility and adaptability has gone, is
Yeah.
into that grave of social media's polarization. That's happened.
And Fox News.
I didn't see it.
I did. All right. And then the last factors mentioned are supportive, low stress environments, which I
Mm,
think seeing that right now, I was like, oh, yeah, because essentially, as they say, when families manage conflict, finances, and external pressures effectively,
mhm.
members experience better overall mental health, emotional regulation, and a stronger sense of security.
Yeah.
That low stress environment thing, like, really scratches an itch, so to speak, because when I think about the times that I have dreaded going to anything, it's usually because there was a higher probability of stress occurring from how
Mm,
do I manage this? How do I dodge that conversation?
yeah.
Will this person get activated if I speak authentically? Will I be able to temper my ability to not react in a way that is activated from old wounds. And
Yeah.
how do we find supportive low stress environments through our own, I think, emotional wellness, I think, is such an important question to ask ourselves and for our family members to ask themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you don't see kids or adolescents, but I work a lot with teens and I talk about this in that sphere whenever children come in or teens come in for therapy because of some sort of dysregulation that they're experiencing or misbehaviors or whatever it is and in their school environments or their home environments or whatever, and the request is like, something is wrong with my child, diagnose them, help them, fix them. And it's almost become a trope in our world, right? It's maybe not out there in the larger world, but the real problem is a stressful family environment. Like
Yes.
I would
The
say
family system.
7 out of 10 times it's the family system environment that is creating this dysregulation with young people, with kids and teens. So for as positive as supportive low stress families can be, they can also be as dysregulating, right? And that's like, if anybody listening is looking at their own kids and going, why are they behaving that way, can really turn that lens back around. I'm serious, and
I
really
know,
like
I
turn the lens and
yes.
go, is the family managing conflict well, right? Is the family supportive? Is the family connected and spending quality time together? If they're not, that's where you focus first.
Yep.
Guarantee you will see the chain reaction of more regulated kids, more well-behaved kids. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So next, I wanted to dive into some stats around holiday stress and really break it down around generation to
Mhm.
generation, what
Mhm.
that means. So starting
I
off with
really hope that you remember Gen X because we're constantly forgotten.
who?
Damn it, Sean.
We did, yes, our Gen X are
Okay,
included,
thank you.
no worries. I love Gen X, man, like, though that's yeah, like, to me, like, y'all
We
are
rock.
check
We
y'all are
we are
checked out and
fantastic.
unbothered.
Yep, as much
You're
as possible, yes.
which I think is the way. Alright, so, starting with Gen Z, they
Sure.
say 60% say they are dreading the holidays due to cost pressures. They
Yeah.
also have high levels of stress or anxiety, with 76% expecting to feel anxious or stressed during the holiday season.
Mhm.
A strong sense of societal and social expectations contributes to 74% of Gen Z saying that their anxiety and stress is due to cultural expectations. And they are more likely to feel financial pressure because they less likely have the large budgets to pay for gifts and to do
Yeah,
the travel and all that stuff. And they
yeah.
just, in general, don't plan for saving for these situations like maybe older generations do, which honestly, like, same. So,
They're
yeah,
not established in their careers yet, but also the
right.
the the, entry level workforce is exactly what it was 20 years ago or 30 years
Yes.
ago, that the starting pay, which that's absurd
Absurd.
given how much things cost now. So, yeah,
Right.
so the fact that they're worried about money and the extra spend that, as often you often feel obligated to around the holidays, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So then we lead into holla millennials.
Mm.
Also, shocker, feeling a high dread and stress, with 59% feeling that around the holidays because of cost.
Uh-huh.
71% of millennials report feeling pressured to purchase gifts.
Uh-huh.
50% of millennials report losing sleep over holiday spending worries.
Uh-huh.
29% are still paying off debt from last holiday season. Also,
That's a
millennials are
tough
more
stat.
likely it is a tough step, and it's
That's
the
a tough
truth,
stat.
I
Yeah,
believe
I believe
it.
it. No, I believe it.
Yeah. Also, millennials are more likely to view holiday gatherings as less drama free. They'd quote unquote uninvite family members,
Mm.
feel that extended family tends to bring drama,
Uh,
which I mean, yeah. And then 70% would uninvite someone if they could without consequence, which I think I love that stat, but also like, damn, like
70.
70%,
Yeah, that's a
7 out
that
of 10 people are like, I don't want. cousin Bobby to come this year.
Well, so that goes back to exactly what we were talking about at the top of this, right? Like you have permission to not show up, to limit your time, to not invite. There's gonna be consequence. There's gonna be fallout from that. And it's still okay to
Right.
curate a drama-free holiday if that's really what you're looking for. So yeah,
Yeah.
just again, giving permission to everybody.
Please, please, please,
Mhm.
please give
Yeah.
yourself permission.
Mhm.
All right. Now, what's this next generation? Oh, Gen X? Oh, Gen X. Okay.
This guy right
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
So, according to the research, Gen X finds that finances are a major stressor among
Oh,
all generations. Those in Gen X, especially because they're caring for kids and maybe aging parents, good old sandwich generation, often say finances are their top holiday worry. In a compared cards survey, Gen X is most likely to say shopping is the biggest holiday stressor, with 75% of Gen X agreeing it was the biggest stressor.
yep.
And then getting into debt is also a concern, with 36% of Gen X worry about holiday debt more than any other generations.
Well, we don't have that many working years left in our lives. We don't want to retire with 50 or 100 or $1,000 of debt, right? We want to be able to start paying that off and leave it in the
It's cute
past.
that you guys get to retire. Wonder what that's going to be like.
Maybe. I think I'm also in a slightly different position, but that's neither here nor there. What's funny about this is what 10 at some point in my relationship with my husband, but then also we did this in my extended family too. We decided that we used to buy gifts for everybody in my extended family growing
Hmm.
up, right? One for mom, one for dad, one for brothers, like what. And then at some point we decided, no, that's too much money to spend.
So
We're going to
much.
put names in a hat, and this year you buy for mom and this year you buy for. So that was something we did growing up, and adjustment we made probably 20 years ago. But even now, we just decide we get all the things that we want for ourselves or each other throughout the year. Like, why do we have to make it a big spend at the end of the year, right? So we maybe dote on the nieces and nephews a little bit, or maybe a select friend or family member here or there, and that's it. We don't go crazy. But this is just me. Like this is me and my relationship and my family. So we've
Yeah.
come to this conclusion that all this pressure, all this worry about going into debt for the holidays is stupid. It's
It's
just
unnecessary. It's
capitalism
unnecessary.
overrun. Yeah. And so we
Yes.
don't need to do it anymore. I would rather spend time. I'd rather have experiences. I would rather not feel overwhelmed by my credit card bill in January
Right.
so that I don't know, I'm a friendlier, happier, more peaceful person because then I'm
Yeah.
going to be able to show up for all the people that I love in a better way anyway.
So much better way.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm off. Now I'm off
Preach.
my
Preach.
pulpit.
Preach,
Thank
brother.
you.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Gen
Yeah.
X covered.
Mm.
And then we're gonna leave it with our boomers. So
Nope.
boomers are less likely than younger generations to feel high pressure or dread over holiday costs. Shocker. For example,
Interesting.
only
Yeah.
27% of boomers reported dreading holidays due to costs versus 60% of Gen Z.
Uh-huh.
Boomers are less likely to uninvite someone from holiday gatherings if possible. I unfortunately
So
deeply agree with that.
habits, values, like these are things that are different in that
Drilled
generation.
into them.
I think I've said this in an episode before, but I've also repeated it many times just in my personal life and conversations. The boomer generation is the one generation in the history of humankind to see as much change as they have seen.
Mhm,
Yes, they are the cultural architects of the rise and fall of our glowing economy and have reaped the rewards, right? But
mhm.
also like they have they have navigated everything from gathering around radios to listen to the evening news and stories, right? To streaming online digital media and AI. Like that those
Yeah,
advancements are ridiculous if you think
it's
about this
wild.
in one lifetime, right? So the fact that they would grow up with and want to hold on to these cultural values and habits, it makes a lot of sense. But also they
Yes.
have access to a lot more resources just because they've been around longer and they, you know, had a booming economy.
Boom. Did I just hear a microphone drop? Boom. Um, going back to if boomers are less likely to uninvite someone, only 52% of adults overall say they would. Uh,
Okay.
Also, according to the research, is that most boomers believe that these celebrations are more likely to be drama free in their minds, which I think is interesting. I think there's a different tolerance though too. Like I think there's this belief that at least I witness in older generations in the boomer generation that is sort of like, hey, that's what comes with family. You live, like them or hate them, love it or lump it, whatever. Like, I don't know why I'm apparently a bad Italian, but like, apologies to actual
I d-
Italians out there.
didn't know what
Um,
that accent was, but I
I
hear it
don't
now.
either,
Yeah.
but that was the closest thing that popped in my brain. Whoever this schmuck that I was impersonating that is
Uh-huh.
not
Yeah.
Italian, God. Uh, because I'm an idiot.
Uh,
Anyway, just me. So then also older adults are less likely to spend large amounts under $2,000 on holiday shopping compared to younger
mm.
generations. And boomers are less concerned about things like crowds, long lines relative to millennials. That I 100% believe. I,
Yeah.
as a
They're just used to
millennial,
it.
am allergic to
Oh
that
god, no.
bullshit
I
now.
have no tolerance for waiting in line. No, sorry. In this
No.
online world, like, why am I waiting in
Yes.
line to buy something? It's just
Yes.
seems silly to me. Yeah.
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 I know, there are times
Yeah.
where I'm like, "Man, I wish I could have experienced what was being an adult at my age at 41
Mhm.
as, like but transport me back into the boomer existence of that." Like, I just
So,
think
like, the mid-80s, maybe
yeah,
early 90s. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like,
My
and,
parents turned 40 in 94. The year I graduated from high school was the year they turned 40. Yeah.
wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like that was definitely a very I mean, obviously, there have been a lot like you mentioned, there have been so many major changes and hardships that boomers have witnessed,
Sure.
and also then there was sort of this quote unquote golden period of
Yeah.
growth, prosperity, jobs,
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that, from time of course, I know that's not a perfect stat by any means,
Mm.
but I definitely think there was a higher belief of great things are to come, which other generations after them have struggled to believe.
It hasn't been the same. We've grown into a different world, and there hasn't been the same opportunity or the same systems that we're in place or were never in place, and then they were created. And so to be sold that American dream, I know there's a lot of chatter around that right now, like out there on and in the media, but to be sold the American dream, it's just not attainable anymore. It's not the same as the outlook was 50 years ago.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. The other piece that I think is relevant there is the sort of approach that we go along to get along. That I
Mm,
feel like was really apparent in my parents in the boomer generation, and I think I adopted some of that, but I have a less tolerance now for obviously inconveniences and for just drama and bullshit and like that's me, that's the world that I grew up in. I'm like, nope, like I will go and get along to a point, but like you're talking about, like waiting in lines, like it's like there's no end to their patience. They will wait for 5 hours in a line to get in to buy towels that are half off, and I'm like,
yeah,
no fucking way, bro.
yeah, yeah.
You can have your half off towels.
I'm gonna say, yeah, if there's
Yeah.
anything I feel like I know about a boomer knows a deal. They will
Yeah.
wait for a deal. They will cut their nose off to spite their face to get a great deal on something.
Yep.
Which, hey, you know what? Kudos to them because
It's great.
that's a tough skill to
Sure.
have anymore.
Yeah.
So when observing how your clients feel about family
Mm.
dynamics,
Yeah.
when you have clients that express that they feel that they are in a really positive family dynamic versus those who speak very anxiously and maybe with anger and at worst cases trauma about their families, like what do you notice is different in those dynamics of people with healthy family relationships versus
Mm.
those who maybe have really difficult relationships with their family?
Like, what are some of the traits? What are some of
Yeah, what
the
do you notice in your
values of present?
what shows up for you when you were working with clients, when it
Yeah,
comes to family, and especially around this time of year? Because I think everyone I talk to and throughout my years of work, like, this is always a very loaded time emotionally for
sure.
a lot of people,
Yeah,
good and bad, but I'm just curious for you, like, how have you noticed any trends depending on the health of their family relationships?
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of what we talked about. There's a lot of pressures. There's a lot of obligations. There's a lot of even fear around going into debt, things like that. The way that I talk about people's, I guess, health in their families, the health of their relational dynamics, is similar to how I have them gauge their progress in therapy. I'm
Mm,
not. I'm not one to do a lot of assessments or a lot of feedback, like hard testing and those kinds of those are useful in some aspects, but in the work that I do, like I want to know how people feel. And
yeah,
typically when they come in and they start, they feel a particular way. They may feel stuck, and then they may feel like they're spinning their wheels. They may feel overwhelmed or stressed or depressed, whatever it might be. And then we work on some stuff. We find some targets. We do some make some changes, and then they feel better. And then we try and quantify that. Like, what is that made up of? And why do you think that exists? And how can you maintain that? So I do the same approach with these stressors around family and around holidays and things like that. Like, if you feel obligated, let's examine that obligation. That's one of my favorite ways to talk about therapy is we take this one concept and we just spend an hour or several sessions, right? And we just split it apart and we look at all the tiny little pieces that are in there and we go, are you really obligated? Is it really just the loudmouth aunt that makes you feel guilty for not showing up or staying for 17 hours at the family holiday party? Or if you put her outside, if she didn't show up one year because she was sick,
mhm,
would you feel the same obligation or would you feel a little bit more balanced or healthier or what? And so it's really just building awareness around some of these feelings and why they exist and kind of what are the dynamics that are present in them, and then how can we tinker with that? How can we build better boundaries? How can we set limits? How can we just say fuck off, right?
mhm,
Either literally or metaphorically, like I
mhm.
don't have to deal with that. Like, so that's really the way that I approach it and when I'm talking to clients about this.
Yeah, especially something that you said around that about, with like tolerating those family members that really make this time of year difficult
Hmm.
is I think one thing I've also noticed, and maybe part of it is from my own emotional experience, is there's also something about feeling a sense of, I guess, anger for those who, if it feels the perception is they're enabling that bad behavior. Like, they'll
Mm,
say they will recognize, "Oh, yeah, that family member is toxic, that family member makes all of us crazy, but that's what we do," and so, I think younger generations are feeling more willing to say, "You are responsible for this
that's
too."
Yeah, that's unhealthy. That's toxic. I'm not gonna
Right.
tolerate that. That should be fixed. Not
Just
me.
because you say
Right.
it's okay doesn't mean that it is.
And
And
it's
in fact,
okay.
I now
Mhm,
resent you some
mhm.
because you are trying to just gloss over what could be a much better family experience
Right.
because you don't want to disrupt the flow of what has always been.
Cue weakening family ties.
Yeah.
That's what we're describing, right? I
Yeah.
think that's where this comes in is you're right.
Well, and a real like pointing out the facade of what people think is a strong family, but then when you break it down, you're like, "Oh, shit, like, look at
Mhm.
all of these schisms that are actually there, but
Yeah.
we just put, like, a nice little veneer over it, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
everything's fine, just don't move from your piece of the glacier that we're all on," you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't tell you the number of clients that I've worked with that are fed up they have come to me and they are fed up with that approach, and they're like,
Yes.
"No more. How do I fix it?" Let's
And then
go.
we say, well,
Yeah.
since we can't make your fill in the
Uh-huh.
blank go to therapy, here's
Right.
what we're going to do to
Yep.
help you work through it, make decisions, make boundaries, and communicate those things in
Mhm.
a way
Yeah.
that feels safe and also empowering for you, hopefully.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it comes out to. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you know, and
Mhm.
this is for everyone listening, is Bentonville Counseling Collective, we really work with a huge amount of people that really come with fractured family relationships. And this can be due to differences in religion. This can be difference in spiritual beliefs, often gender and sexual identity concerns or differences in how we feel about those situations and
Sure.
identities can really fracture a lot of people's relationships because it is different from what maybe other family members believe. And that's really it's really, really sad. And it's all too common, not really anymore, especially with the clients we work with. But I say all that, Jason, how do you assist clients through that painful part of the work? And you touched on it some, but I didn't know if like when they are really dealing with that head on and even some of the loneliness they feel from that,
Yeah.
what are some of the things you offer?
I had a mentor when I was doing my graduate school training that used to talk about, and his name is Jeff Levy. He's retired, but Jeff, if at any point you catch wind of this and you happen to listen to this episode, thank you for this little nugget of wisdom. This has really gotten a lot of mileage out of this. R- The concept that I bring in, the feeling that I bring in, is that we're really dealing with grief,
Mm,
and we don't ever stop and check in this way about this. But the grief is about the loss of the ideal or the loss of what we had as a child.
mhm,
Christmas, big family Christmas, is not going to look the same from 10 years old to 30 years old. Whether or not you are still the kid in the family, you're now an adult with adult perspectives and 20 more years of experiences. And so it's going to look and feel different. And if you're still trying to apply the same constraints and the same values to what the holiday was 20 years ago, it's not going to feel good. And if you choose to let that go or choose to let that change, it's going to hurt. It's gonna be sad, right? We're gonna
yeah,
bargain and we're gonna all the sort of little pieces of grief. But that to me, that's the biggest aha with my clients is when I go, yeah, that sounds like it sucks and that it hurts. And I'm sorry. Like there's some real loss there. And that
yeah,
is just that's the piece that just really lights up, I think, for most people. So bringing that concept in and allowing it to hurt and then allowing the change to happen, like really surrendering to the change and accepting, because that's kind of like the journey through grief, right? Is
yeah,
working towards acceptance. When we can work towards acceptance and start to integrate the pain of that loss and integrate the changes and integrate our new value set and make it become the thing that we want it to be, now we're living in reality.
yeah.
And now it's definitely different. And we are definitely different because of that change. But that's the thing that I think really helps clients heal.
I love that. Yeah, kudos to your mentor there.
Yeah.
Grief work is such a huge piece of it. I think that that trend in psychotherapy is definitely becoming increasingly prevalent and understood,
Yeah.
and to yeah, to say to a client, "Hey, let's sit with that mourning process that you're in the midst of."
Yeah.
Really unlock something because
It
it
does.
doesn't feel like it's just this situational thing. It's this overarching what I wanted my life to feel like with these people and what the reality of that is,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
how sad that is if it feels like I can't get there with them or they are unwilling to get there with me.
Yeah.
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 Oof. That was good. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. What is, and I don't know if you can narrow it down, but maybe just pick one out of your toolbox. But
Sure.
what is one do and one don't when it comes to creating or fostering a healthy sense of family, especially keeping the stress of the holidays in mind?
Ooh, this is a good question. Do honor your own feelings and set boundaries. That's something that, again, I don't think was, we talked about it in 4 or 5 different ways in this episode, but like the boomer generation just didn't have this ethos in the way that they grew up and the way that they created their own value systems. And so it was never communicated down the chain. We all have feelings, we all have needs, and sometimes those things don't match up with other people. So you can say no.
Yeah,
So do honor your own feelings and set boundaries. I think that can be one of the healthiest things that people can do. And don't maybe rely on numbing yourself
oof, good
to
one.
get through something. That to me is like the longer I live, the more experiences I have, the more bites out of life I get to take. Numbing ourselves to get through experiences, celebrations that are supposed to be connective, supposed to be joyous. It's antithetical to what it means to me to be human. We are here
Yeah,
to experience all of the feelings of life. If we have to numb ourselves to get through them, like, oh, it kind of just guts me to kind of put it in those terms. So I, I know that sometimes that's necessary, or maybe the habits are
yeah,
really strong, or maybe that's part of your family's culture, or whatever it might be, right? But if you're really over relying on it to get through something, I would just encourage you to rethink that and maybe redraw the boundaries or the limits around it, and don't numb yourself, right? Find people who will celebrate joy with you and be
right,
joyous when you're supposed to be joyous. So
right.
there you go. You put me on the spot, and that's what I got.
That was great.
Thanks.
Super impressive. Great
Yeah.
job. I would say my do is do the holidays in whatever way feels right for you.
Nice.
I know that obviously we might have some younger folks who are listening, so maybe they have different realities of they aren't able to make that choice for themselves, or
Mm,
there's a financial obligation because of the way their family supports them. So I understand that that might limit the ability to physically not be present, but
well,
I think it's super important that, all right, well, then give yourself unapologetic permission to celebrate however you want and know that it's not wrong as long as no one is getting hurt. And I mean, truly, like people can feel disappointed. That's fine. That
yeah,
happens. But
yeah,
actual, outside of like, yeah, doing something destructive
right,
emotionally or physically, there's not a wrong way to do it. And that's important, I think, for people to hear. And also, don't force a happy situation if it's not authentic because that feels so suffocating when you know everyone in the room is
uh-huh,
thinking or feeling the same tension, but we're all gonna act like it's all cool. We're gonna act like we don't have this huge difference in the way that the world is going right now, or we really don't like the way that this person's relationship with this person shows up because of their behaviors during this time of year. And so I think that's so important. Like, don't fluff it up. You can't fake authenticity, true authenticity. So if you are feeling a certain way, guess what? You can be neutral. You don't have to be cruel. You can be civil.
sure,
However, if you can't, like, engage in a way that truly feels that
okay
where
to
you
you,
can be
yeah,
civil, yeah,
yeah,
then that's okay,
yeah,
and no one should make anyone feel bad about that, and if you are the person that's making someone feel bad about that, think about that. Do you really wanna be guilty like, the
mm,
guilting individual? You want that
mm.
to be your title? "Oh, I'm the person that guilts family members for doing what's okay and needed for them." Go check yourself, ma'am or sir, or they,
Yeah, I'm
them.
sure, yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Come
Mm.
on. So anyway, that's my do and don't.
I will say you are a role model in this regard, because in just the 4 years that we've known each other, like I've seen you do this at really critical moments in our
Mm,
in our work and personal life together, and I feel like you're just really good at really honoring that tension in the room and calling it out and really calling it for or naming it, right? Really saying like this is what this is and we need to address it head on. You're better than average than
Oh,
people and
well,
most people. So
thanks.
just yeah, just so you know. Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's not easy. I'll definitely say that. Like, I definitely, and I think same to what you're saying.
Yeah.
None of
Yeah.
these things are necessarily easy, but guess what? Most things that are worth it aren't. And
Mm,
it's important to keep that in mind.
yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah.
all right.
It's
Well, let's get to some takeaways. So, I would say the first thing I want to offer is to remember that as we grow into our lives, identifying what family means to all of us and who
mhm,
qualifies as family is truly unique to each person.
mhm,
And I really think it's important that we challenge ourselves to examine the strengths of those connections and consider, if anything, what can you do to strengthen those relationships and have them reach a level of connection that you desire if there is an
mhm.
ability to, or how to keep fostering that, because that is, I think, such a big part of this is what, as much as we can say everyone outside of us can be, maybe we're the problem or we're not contributing to the solution. And
Sure.
so I think looking at ourselves and our relationships, how can we show up differently or improve upon those if we can see there is an opportunity to do so?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I also thought it'd be really important to, I'm a big movie, music, TV. I love all the media arts and whatnot out there. So I wanted to recommend some awesome pieces of media about family and the holidays that I really appreciate. There's Pieces of April, which came out, I think, in the early aughts, and actually stars Katie Holmes and Patricia Clarkson. It takes place in with her
Mm,
family coming for Thanksgiving dinner, and they have a really estranged relationship. Uh, Kitty Holmes and Patricia Clarkson plays her mom, and you see that play out, and there's a lot of dynamics there that's really complicated. Same with one of my favorite movies I watch every year, The Family Stone, which at the time of this recording, rest in peace, Diane Keaton. It's
yeah.
really, really, as I was coming up with this episode, that I'd written this out, and then, like, hours later, it was announced that she passed
Yeah.
away, and so that film about all these siblings and an outsider coming in and the shenanigans and dramatics and switcheroos that happen. It's good. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry. And it really, like, they have this like New England Christmas. Like, it's totally like what you want Christmas to feel like, in my
Sure.
opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, of course, the classic. I think a lot of people love this movie for many reasons. Love Actually, because I
Mm,
do think that movie really does show all of the different ways that family looks at Christmas,
mm.
whether it's with friends, whether it's with strangers, lovers, whatever, and being able to kind of talk about the insanity of that time of year. And then to flip on its head, the Thanksgiving episodes of Friends. There are 10 episodes
Oh,
worth
yeah.
of Friends episodes throughout the years. Their Thanksgiving episodes are notorious for being just some of their best. And usually around Thanksgiving, different social media platforms will like actually show you, like, here's the list of the episodes so you can jump to them on your streaming services.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah, I've
it's
seen
really
that. Yeah.
handy. And then last, I definitely, this is a newer reference, but it's one that if you really wanna get into, like, the heaviness of holidays, the
Mm.
TV show The Bear, which
Woo-hoo.
is, it's so good, but it's also too good
It's
at
too good.
illustrating tension, anxiety, and just insane emotions, especially involving family.
It gives me
And
agita. I really like, I
it's a
love the
lot.
show, and I can't watch it because of how intense it can be. Set in a
Yes.
restaurant, but it's in the heart of Chicago. Like, it's such a
Yeah.
love letter to Chicago. It's yeah, love that show.
Well, so season 2, episode 6, which is called Fishes,
Mm.
is this brilliant episode that takes place in a past Thanksgiving of the main character, and you basically see the boiling up
Don't give
of
it
all
away.
the tensions.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
I?
I said, "Don't give it away."
Oh,
No,
I
yeah, I know
won't.
you
I
I
mean,
know
this
you
has been a
wouldn't.
couple
Yeah.
years, so,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but, like, I'm just saying, I'm not gonna give away all the stuff, but I will say,
Yeah.
like, It's overwhelming. You feel it's uncomfortable to watch,
Oh,
but I'm
yeah.
telling you, if you love great television and you wanna feel something,
Mm.
I highly recommend the Thanksgiving episode Fishes from the television show The Bear.
Can I toss one more
Um,
in there?
please, yes, yes.
So it's a little bit silly, and fictionalized, obviously, like a lot of that stuff, but, Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn and
Oh,
Reese
yeah.
Witherspoon. It's actually it shows, I mean, it's supposed to be a comedy, right? But it shows 4 very different families and how they celebrate, Christmas. And, for as ridiculous as it can be at times, there's actually some really great moments, and that's one that, my husband and I watch every year,
Oh.
pretty much. It's just been kinda like a tradition. But it's yeah, it's really good. It's really funny too.
Yeah, because 'cause isn't the premise that Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon, who are a married couple, they're
Mhm.
planning to, like, go on their own trip, but then that doesn't work out, and
Right.
so they end up going to each of their parents' Christmases, which
Mhm.
are both of their parents divorced from each other, and so that
They
leads to
are
4 different Christmases?
yes, exactly. That's how they
Okay,
get there. Yeah.
okay, alright, yeah. That's one I've never watched, so I'll definitely have to keep
It's
an
cute.
eye out
It's
for that
definitely
one.
yeah, it's definitely good.
Uh,
Yeah.
very cool. Jason, I didn't know if because I've been blabbing so much, do
Mm.
you want to share what your personal takeaway is on this topic?
Oh, okay. I think I would probably bring it back to which is maybe this is if you're gonna corner me on like a home theory in terms of psychology, I would call myself a narrative therapist. I'm really interested in how people tell stories about themselves, about their lives, about their families, things like that. And so one of the concepts in narrative therapy is how we quote unquote do family. And this really speaks to like how we perform it, how we interact with it, how we build it, how it plays out in our lives. And so for me, like if I'm looking at this from a mental health perspective, obviously this is a mental health centered podcast, right? The way that we choose to do family should be as authentic and as nurturing and loving as possible. It's family is supposed to be the set of connections that are the closest and most nurturing in our lives. And if the way that your family does family doesn't feel loving or nurturing or connected, do it differently. Figure out how to do it differently. And so you can approach it a million different ways. You can look at this, you can watch this, you can read this. Doesn't matter. But how we do family, like to me, that's the takeaway. That's the big mental health piece. This should feel good. It should feel warm and fuzzy. Hopefully, at
Yeah.
least in some way, right?
Yeah.
So that's my big takeaway. How about you?
I
What do you
love
got?
that. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
great. This is something I love espousing this, but I also imagine I'd
Mm.
probably have a lot of family members cursing my name if they're like, "Ah, blah blah's therapist said this." What? But this is my hot take. Just because your parents brought you into the world does not mean that they are entitled to be in your life or inform what is best for you.
Are we gonna get struck down
God's
by
ought to
lightning?
spite us. No, I mean,
No, amen to that. Amen.
it's
Yeah.
something that I work all year round with
Mhm.
clients on,
Yep.
but especially this time of year is if you are a parent out there and you have this thought that a person needs to live for you and what you want for them, I want to go back to what I said earlier. Go check yourself. You're
Mhm.
wrecking yourself. Like you're wrecking things by having that that horrible belief that your kids are just meant to serve your agenda. Guess
Right.
what? The hope is that we are raising people to have their own lives and autonomy and freedom and independence. And usually people have healthier relationships when they are given that autonomy without some sort of back end deal of, but you give me this, I give you that bullshit. It needs to be an unconditional, we understand what you need to do. And also, we're not going to punish you emotionally or otherwise for
Right.
doing so.
Right. Yeah.
Because a lot of people feel resentment because they think, well, I have to. Sean, I have to. They're my parents. They again, just because they decided to procreate, it wasn't your choice to come into the world.
Right.
Like, just like it
Right.
wasn't their choice to come into the world. So I just think we've gotta let people, especially adults, live their lives. So,
Yeah. That
please,
one that
yeah.
that speaks to me personally. I'll just put my little personal aside on it. Like I mean, as you know, like I'm estranged from my parents. I have been for several years. I love them, and my mental health suffers if I choose to have a relationship with them because of
Mhm.
some of their values. And so I've had to distance myself from them. I don't think they're terrible people, but they have some cultural and religious values that don't align with who I am and how I navigate the world. And I can't pretend. You know this about me. We've talked about this. Like I can't pretend that that is okay. And so I've had to distance myself, and it's sad. And there's grief around this, right, for the
Yeah,
holidays. But it's absolutely important to have a happy and healthy life on your own terms. And if that includes not having your parents in your life, that's sad and necessary.
yeah, yeah.
So
If your parents are unwilling to come to the table and have a real and honest and authentic and understanding, open, like, concept of communication with
right,
you,
right,
with any of us, it's not gonna work.
right,
We all have
right.
to come to the table with an open mind, but that also means that if someone says, "This hurts me, therefore I cannot participate in it,"
Mm,
you are denying what their boundaries are, and that is going to create distance with anyone if you do
yeah,
that. When you say, "Nope, sorry, what is personally necessary for you is not something I will consider because I want to stand on this mountain apparently and claim it as mine and, essentially go fuck yourself." But I know that's dramatic,
right,
but I just, yeah, I
yeah,
can't say enough on that. So
yeah.
preach.
Great.
And then the last thing is just define what you out there need in order to enjoy the holidays. Boundaries on travel and time spent together is something that I think needs to be understood. Not everybody can afford the gas to travel hours or
Mm,
to catch a flight or, as we talked about, getting gifts. Giving yourself permission to be okay with others' disappointments with
mm,
decisions that are best for you is okay. Like we have to give ourselves that permission because this world we're not meant to all agree on everything, but if we can't respect those decisions
yeah,
on what we need, then it's our problem, it's their problem, and we're honoring ourselves.
yeah.
So, make sure you are surrounding yourself with people that help you feel like your merriest version of yourself, because the holidays are about giving, and we give better when we give ourselves what we truly need first.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
Alright, we have arrived at the secret question. I don't know why I did that, that was creepy. Um, Jason, do you have one?
It's because we just passed Halloween and you're still stuck in Halloween mode. I don't know.
Am I a creepy ghost?
Sure, yeah.
Secret question.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this in a couple different ways, but I think the thing I want to know most is like, what's one of the happiest memories that you have of being in your family growing up?
You know what? I guess this is like right on the outset of it, but for a few years, my so they're technically my second cousins, but I
Mm.
consider them my aunt and uncle. Growing up, we started having New Year's Eve like sleepovers where all of our
Ah,
cousins, we all slept in our like sleeping bags and random shit down in like one area. And then like all the parents, like there was multiple bedrooms and stuff where they could sleep in couches. And so we all just got to celebrate together and spend like New Year's together. And we would watch movies, we'd play games, we'd order like pizza or something. Like
that's super fun.
it was so much fun. It just, yeah, like I have such like warm memories of that time because it felt like, especially as a kid, being like, "Oh my gosh, it's midnight and I'm hanging out with my cousins? How cool." And, it was so fun. It just everybody was in
Yeah.
it to have a great time, and,
Yeah.
the parents got to get sloppy and not have to worry about anybody,
Right.
driving in
Right.
that.
They were home. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was safety, it was comfort, it was, hilarity, it was everything. So,
I
yeah,
love that.
that's a great yeah, there's so many, but that was the one that just popped to me. How
Mm,
about you? What
very
about
cool.
you?
Yeah. So it's probably, and we tried to recreate this as young adults, and it never really quite took. But as kids, my dad's cousins, so again, my second cousins, like they were also a huge family, 12 kids in that family. So my grandma, my dad's mom's brother, oh, he had all these kids. And so that was a massive, massive family, all kind of like in my dad's generation. And they all had kids. And so we would go on a yearly basis, like every summer. That family's family house was this huge house on a corner with like no fence, and it was in a neighborhood, but like had big pool. And we would do a family luau every year.
Mm.
And so literally all of those, my dad's cousins, they would wake up at 5 a.m. and they would have purchased an entire pig on a spit, and they would put it on a spit, and they would
Wow.
season it and stick it with garlic cloves, and they would stick it on the big rack and just let it roast for like 8 hours. Like literally it
Oh,
was on the spit
wow.
by 6 a.m. And it was this every year. And so we would all just
That's
sort of like
awesome.
just head over there like around midday, couple of hours before the pig was done, and there was a Budweiser rep or somebody in the family, and so we had there was always kegs of beer at this. But the thing that really stands out to me is like not only was this a big family party, but I think this is where I started to really expand my definition of family. Like this
Mhm.
was where all of my dad's cousins friends would show up too, and we also started to be able to bring a friend if we wanted to this big. And so it was really just like this open house family party where there would be at any given point like 100 people in this house and pool and backyard and property. And we ran wild, but like, man, those were the coolest family parties ever. Like, just so awesome. So,
That's
yeah,
so
those
cool.
definitely some of my happiest for sure.
My gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
What a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
thanks for sharing. That's
Yeah.
great. All right. Shouty outies. Got a shout out, Jason?
Sure. I just, so gosh, I can feel myself getting emotional talking about this. I just finished a book called The Sunflower Boys by
Mm.
this brilliant new young author named Sam Walkman. He's 25 years old. Like the pretty nature talent of this guy
It feels like a kid at our age.
is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently he did some tutoring in college or something, but in Ukraine, like during the I think the onset of the war with Russia. And
Mm.
it takes place, it's a coming of age story, which is why I picked it up in the first place, because you know me and I love coming of age stories. But it's a coming of age story, and then it takes place right at the advent of the Russia-Ukraine war. It ugh, it's such a beautiful story. Like I my husband was commenting as I was like in the later chapters. He's like, I don't think you've ever cried this much in a book. And I'm like, I know. I just finished it this morning too. So that's why it's like
Mm.
even still present. It's gorgeous. Like it's such a beautiful,
Wow.
beautiful story. So powerful and harrowing, but also just like redemptive and loving. And family is a theme all throughout it. And so that's why it even resonated even more for this particular episode. So that's my one and only shout out this week is The Sunflower Boys by Sam Walkman.
Wow, I'll have to check that
Read it.
out.
Read it, read it, read it. Read it. Everybody read it. It's incredible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
He's like
yeah,
850 followers on Instagram. Like he's literally nobody right now, and he's writing brilliantly. So go
that's
get it.
amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that. That sounds yeah, I swear those books where it's like it just, like, makes your heart just do so many things,
So
and
many
you
things.
just are
So many
feeling
things.
so much. It's such an overwhelming experience, but it's also so powerful,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
so, oh, I'm glad that you had that experience. That's great.
Thanks.
Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
when books and media can touch me in that way, right? It just is so
Yeah.
special. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
magic of
Oh
media,
yeah.
but definitely books.
Hmm.
Ah, great. My shout out, struggling because there's so many. I say this a lot. I feel like I have a lot of shout outs, but I wanted to really focus it. It just came to me is I want to give a shout out to anybody who goes all out decorating for the holidays. I think good for you. That's what I
Yes.
think.
Yeah.
I love, like, for example, my next door neighbors right now, shocker, we're recording this before Halloween,
Mm,
and they are just they always every year deck their yard out with the coolest, like creepiest holiday like Halloween setup,
mm,
and I just love it. I love every day I come home and I just see these wild contraptions and lights and creepy dolls on the lawn and stuff
yeah.
like that. And I just think that's so great. And the same for during Christmas when people have, I mean, especially I feel like, I don't know, it's probably not just Northwest Arkansas. I definitely know it's not just Northwest Arkansas, but there's a lot of people that do some really cool stuff, at least here in Bentonville
Yeah.
and also back home, like around Christmas, they just had these elaborate holiday scenes. Like it's like you're in an outdoor snow globe somehow,
Mm, mhm.
and so I just really appreciate when people get into the festivities. I think that's such an important part of getting into the spirit is creating the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for those of you who do that, just know that even though like I'm someone that's like, if I have to like do a lot of work on it, I like to do some work on it, but not it depends. If I'm sharing in the task, it's one thing, but I myself
Sure.
don't feel like taking that on. But I love that you want to and that it
Yeah.
brings you some joy. So thank you
Yeah.
because it brings me joy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my husband. My husband loves to decorate for it's Christmas in particular, but yeah, he's yeah.
Your home always
That's his
looks
joy.
beautiful. Yeah.
It's
For
yeah.
I mean most holidays, but definitely Christmas. Yeah. So kudos to him. All right. Well, Jason, thank you for having this conversation with me today. And I hope that our listeners out there hopefully got something out of this and also just know that it's never too late to find your family. It's always out there somewhere. And I hope that if you haven't yet, I hope you find yours. So,
Mm,
all right. With that being said, everyone, please make sure to take a deep breath.
and
And
collect your thoughts.
that's right. All right. We'll see you guys later. Take care.